Hi there, welcome to Elizabeth Bakes. We're talking today about making what's called an enriched dough for a tart. It kind of looks like a pizza and it kind of looks like a tart, so it's basically a savory tart. So we're going to get started by making our dough. Super easy. You're going to be shocked at how easy this is, and I'll give you some little tricks along the way. You're going to start off by adding the flour into your mixer, and you want to use the dough hook. If you're wondering what that attachment was, it's only for dough because it helps incorporate the dough together. And if you were trying to develop gluten, which we're not here, you would use the dough hook to help develop the gluten, sort of like kneading without having to knead. So when you measure your flour, okay, a lot of people don't talk about this, but when you measure your flour, you take the cup of flour out of the bag, right? You pull it out with a measuring cup, and then you want to take the back of a knife and scrape off the top so it's even. Otherwise, you don't have a true measurement of 1 cup. Baking's a little more exact. It's fun, but it's a little more exact than cooking. So you want to make sure your measurements are right. To those 2 cups of flour, we're going to add 2 sticks of cold butter right out of the fridge. And you can cut it into slices if you want. What I like to do is cut the stick 2 ways. I'll cut it long ways, all the way the length of the stick. Then I flip it sideways and I cut it long ways again so that when I slice it, I have 4 little pats instead of 1 big pat. And what that does is we're trying to make little peas form in the dough because that distributes the fat. It looks like the size of frozen peas. So that's what we're going to do now. So you can see the dough hook is breaking up the butter into the flour till we get that consistency that we want. Now it's pretty cold in here, so the butter is not getting really small the way it usually would. Living in Florida, you're used to it being a lot warmer, but it is slowly getting there. And I'm going to speed up the process by adding the 1/4 cup of ice cold water beaten with 1 egg. And then that dough is going to come together really nicely. You see how that's starting to come together? Now I'm going to stop it and scrape down the sides. So I stopped it, I scraped down the sides. I'm going to let that mix for about, 30 seconds to a minute, not too long. And then I'm going to take it, it's going to look all ragged like this, and that's okay. It's very forgiving, trust me. We're going to take this and we're going to form it into a disc and stick it in the fridge for 20-30 minutes before we roll it out. I want you to check out this little trick. Here's what I did. I put the dough in one of those freezer bags. I gently pushed out the air and then I formed it into a disc and zipped it shut, and then I can just stick it in the fridge like that. Okay? So makes life easier for you. Don't try to do the, rip a piece of, plastic wrap and try to get it to stay on there. It's just such a pain. This is so much easier. So I just stuck it in the bowl that my flour was in, and I'm going to stick this in the fridge. Also, go ahead and start heating your oven up to 400 degrees for this. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take this dough, and you're going to roll it out. We're going to roll it over the rolling pin and then roll it out onto the pan. It's really easy, so don't freak out. Now you see what I've done here? I've sprinkled the surface with some flour. My teacher, pastry teacher, Stephen, used to call that feeding the chickens. You gotta feed the chickens, then you put your dough on, and then you wanna press it down with your rolling pin to kind of press it out a little bit. It still looks a little ragged, It's gonna come together. Just keep rolling it and flipping it, and then it'll come together into a nice oval. You see how that's rolling out nicely? When I say flip over, what I mean is fold over, almost like a croissant dough. You want to fold it until you can work with it, and then we're going to use a dough scraper, one of those big wide scraper things underneath, to loosen it from the board, and then we're going to put it on our cookie sheet. So I put it on my cookie sheet and I pressed it out a little bit where the edges were a little thick so that it's kind of even. Now we're going to put our Parmesan cheese on the bottom to kind of soak up any extra liquid. And when you do this, try to leave a little bit of a border because you're going to fold that over into sort of a free-form tart. So I put on my sliced tomatoes, I crumbled up my 4 ounces of goat cheese and put that on there, and some fresh, beautiful basil. This is going to be so good. Now you want to fold over the edge like that. And the reason is, first, it looks like a tart. Secondly, when you pour your half and half with egg over, which is like a custard, this is what makes it so rich and so good with the cheese and the rich dough. Oh my gosh, so satisfying. So we're going to pour that over, and then we're going to put it right into the oven, okay? Is that beautiful or what? That's going to sit in there for 30 minutes and be beautiful and gorgeous and tasty. You could put the basil on after if you want. I just went ahead and did it all at once this time. And we're going to see what this looks like in 30 minutes. That's a beautiful thing. I can't wait to dig in. Thanks for watching Elizabeth Bakes. You can go to youtube.com/EADoherty1 and click subscribe to get all of the videos with all the great stuff we make every day.